Well, we come to the AEW offering now that we've covered the WWE world for the week. And this was the long-awaited episode of Dynamite on Wednesday night, the 2nd of February, where we, in Chicago of all places, we were going to get to see CM Punk and MJF finally go nose-to-nose, toe-to-toe, face-to-face. They faced each other, stuck out their bellies and run at each other. When the crash came and the dust fell, Tiny Frazier, the big man, was killed. That's a Big Bad John promo from 1976. I can remember those. I just can't remember last week. But we had to wait, Brian, before we got to Punk and MJF. We had to walk across hell with gasoline britches on this week. The first hour and 15 minutes of this program were like having a bamboo shoot slowly and inexorably shoved under your fingernails. It didn't hurt all at once. It built and built in pain and suffering until finally it was almost too much, and then they gave us what we came for. Would that kind of encapsulate the flavor of this program?
Although there were a few intriguing things, this was a miserable show until Punk and MJF.
You find things intriguing that most people feel embarrassed for other people about. Like the things that you find intriguing, most people are sitting there going, I hope their families are not watching.
Well, they don't have to be mutually exclusive, those things.
Yeah, well, the first match, Moxley is back. And 15 pounds lighter, the CEO of Moxley Plumbing is going to open the show in his single match with Wheeler Yuta. And now, apparently, our friend Danhausen is a member of the Puddin' Gang, because Wheeler Yuta's in the Puddin' Gang, and here he comes with Pockets and Danhausen. So now, is this Paul Jones's army? And every time they come across and sign some kind of comedy performer, they're going to go in the Puddin' Gang? Is this what we're going to be subjected to?
Unfortunately, it looks like that, but to me, the bigger issue, if you get past the gimmick and the silliness and everything else, Danhausen debuts on the show last week, popping out from under the ring in the middle of the Orange Cassidy-Adam Cole match.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of walks away. And then on social media, they announce he's in AEW. Obviously, he's got fans. His t-shirt's already one of the best-selling shirts they have. But that's it. Nothing else has been said about him or explained about him on TV. And then this week's show, he just walks out with Orange Cassidy and Wheeler Yuta. Not only is nothing said about who he is, why he's there, why he is what he is.
Why he is.
But they immediately, to me, make him less special, if you want to look at it that way, when you have, for no reason, he's walking out there with this other act that's already established. In being bad, mind you, but they've already been there for a while. Why would you incorporate him with that?
Well, and also, besides no explanation, it's Danhausen. Okay, for all the people who know, they know. There's a lot of people that don't know who Danhausen is. Have we given up on all of them? So shouldn't we say, give some explanation that Danhausen, he didn't look like a wrestler. He's a wrestler, apparently. He's just been signed. He looks like that for some reason. He's going to be doing something. And how many members of the Puddin' Gang are there now? 22? So they signed somebody else and put him in with them. There's Pockets. There's Muffin Top. There's Flatlander. There's old Wheeler here. There's who am I missing? Trent.
Trent's mom.
Trent's mom is an honorary member.
Ricky Romero.
Rocky Romero.
Rocky Romero, not Ricky Romero.
Yeah, Ricky Romero probably wouldn't hang out
Ricky Romero
with these people. If Dory Funk Sr. would get really pissed at Ricky Romero if he hung out with these people. And you know what they'd say to Ricky Romero if he was there right now? They say, Ricky, what are you doing here? You've been dead for 30 years.
Don't they actually say that Okada's a member too? That like Okada's group and the Best Friends have a loose connection?
Well, yeah, loose connection. Somebody in the Best Friends has a loose something. Well, we when we asked last week, why is my, and we came to anus throbbing, we couldn't figure out whether it was throbbing because it was too tight or too loose. Anyway, so Moxley versus Wheeler Yuta, and he's in the fucking Puddin' Gang. Who's the baby face? Who's the heel? The Puddin' Gang are all supposed to be baby faces. Moxley's supposed to be a badass. He's going to have the same match he always does. And it was. And he said he gives the job guy too much offense. They fight on the floor. They do some dives. And then Moxley and Pockets will stare at each other, just like Pockets stares at all of the opponents for his guys out on the floor. The guy that he's staring at is buried because he doesn't do anything to the guy standing there looking at him with his hands in his pockets. Wheeler Yuta acts seriously about shit. He's in shape, and he might be able to do something, but it's impossible to take him seriously aligned with the clown car group, and you don't pay any attention to the matches because he's aligned with the clown car group. So,
and respectfully to my earlier point, Wheeler Yuta's another guy, just popped up one day, just started walking out with the best friends.
Well, that's because Trent was hurt.
But it was never explained to us why he was there, who he was exactly, why he's friends with them. It was just all of a sudden he's a member of their little gang.
They needed a new friend. And they're very fair weather friends. If one of their friends gets hurt, they just go out and get a new friend. I'll be there for you. So this match ended. Guess who won? And then I got to be honest with you. I knew it was too good to last. Bryan Danielson has been impeccable, a breath of fresh air. Great match with Paige, 2 matches with Paige. Now we're going to have to see Danielson and Moxley. And that's like, here's this delicious, custom-made birthday celebratory cake from the finest baker in town. And here's the goddamn stale Twinkie from the Shell station. Put them together, and the delicious cake doesn't really make the Twinkie taste better, but the Twinkie will drag down the delicious cake. And that's what's happening. Now, Moxley is going to drag down Danielson. I don't know what they're doing here. We're going to find out, but Danielson does a good promo as usual. But the point he was making was he and Moxley shouldn't fight each other. They should fight together. There's no reason why the entitled millennial cowboy Adam Page should be the world champion. There's no reason a dinosaur should be a tag team champion. He must be listening to the program. Brian, hello. Hope you're doing well. And basically, Danielson saying, you and me together, we could run this place. Well, somebody needs to, so it might as well be them. And, of course, Danielson knocks the Puddin' Gang and he's basically using, they have a weird thing going on here, and it'll get stranger in the next segment, where they will tell the truth about all the company's weak spots in trying to make the people disagree with what they know to be the truth because the heels are saying it. See what I'm saying, Brian?
Yeah.
It ain't working, but they're trying. So Danielson says everything about some of the goofy young talent that they have there and says, we could train them and we could run this place. And I wrote, the last thing anybody needs is to be trained by Jon Moxley. Maybe a puppy. But this went a while. I'm not complaining that Danielson is the one speaking because I get tired of Moxley's same promo every time. I'm going to drink some blood and snap some necks. But Moxley standing there with the look on his face like he's portraying like he's trying to think, and he's somewhat indignant, but yeah, he's rolling his eyes, but yet you don't know for sure what he's going to say. And then he made some faces to the camera, and Danielson says, what do you think about it? It's a lot to take in. Throws the microphone down and leaves. Did Moxley's making the mugging, or as William Regal would say, pulling faces, as they say across the pond, to the camera, did that lessen this any, or where do you think this is even going?
I don't think it lessened it. I thought Danielson was great. Did you believe everything Danielson says?
Yeah.
He's really, really good right now. I think part of the problem, where do I think it's going? I don't know. It seems like they're going towards eventually Moxley and Danielson, which they've been teasing for a while, since before Moxley went away. And the problem is they do this thing and Danielson saying, come on, let's do this together. Let's train Lee Moriarty and all these different guys. If they wanted the fans to go, oh, don't do that. Come on, Mox. No. I think the problem is everyone was like, yeah, that's great. What a great idea. I didn't see anyone on Twitter or anywhere else say like, oh, that's awful. They're like, oh, I hope this is real. I hope they put together Daniel Garcia and a few of these guys that could use some seasoning with Danielson and even Moxley. I don't know if that was the desired result, but everyone was excited about it actually happening.
Well, they swim against the tide here, Brian. They don't follow they take the path least traveled. They don't follow the crowd. So maybe for the first time in history, this was designed. It's only been 130 years since we've had pro wrestling. Maybe this is the first time ever that the people were supposed to cheer for the babyface to do what the heel's asking him to do. That would be a landmark happening.
And by the way, it would be a very New Japan thing, or very just Japan in general. If they really did do something where like a Bryan Danielson had some of these young guys, like a Daniel Garcia, or a Wheeler Yuta, or a Lee Moriarty, who are young enough and haven't been on TV too much that they are all new and fresh. Maybe this is a good way to get them involved with the shows as opposed to just having them randomly run out with 2.0 nonstop.
Well, but no, because then we got to look at Daniel Garcia twice a week instead of just once a week. While the Briscoes are still on a chicken farm in Delaware and FTR's on the back of a milk carton. Anyway, they did a nice package on the Punk MJF situation. That was, so that match is still to come. And then you got to sit through one of these every show to get to what you want to see. But this one, I know you loved it because you love the bizarre, the unhinged, the offbeat, the inexplicable. Brandy Rhodes was in the ring for an interview, and here comes Dan Lambert. Now, help me again. Brandy is a heel, and she's being a heel on purpose. She said, hello, Cleveland. They were in Chicago. Or Chicago, whatever. Same thing. She's being a heel on purpose. She knows the people hate her, and she probably knows why they hate her. I don't know whether it's registered with her that they're right or not, but she's not good at anything, and nobody wants to see her, and that's why they don't like her. So they have her out there being a heel on purpose, even though her husband, who is one of the executive vice presidents and is being booed out of the building at every stop on the tour, comes out and says he will specifically, I will not turn heel, which people then boo harder. So she's being a heel on purpose. He says he's not going to be a heel, but he's a bigger heel than she is. But then Dan Lambert, who is a heel, comes out to apparently, again, tell the truth about her and why people don't like her. For what purpose? She's acting like a heel on purpose, but then here comes the other heel to tell the truth about her in front of the people so that they will boo him and not believe the truth about her because it's him saying it? What? I don't. So here's the two most unlikable people in the whole company. And I'm not saying that personally. Lambert's a nice guy in person. I met Brandy once briefly. Can't say she was as warm as a puppy's belly to me, but she wasn't a bitch or anything. But they're on the air, they're the most unlikable people, not the hottest heels. Not MJF level heel, but unlikable, we don't want to see you people. That's what they are on the television. So he starts knocking her and Cody by telling her the truth about their ego and why people don't want to see them. And I've wrote, what is happening? Who are we supposed to root for? Or is this the point where the asteroid is supposed to hit from outer space and destroy all life on Earth when they're in the ring so that it would get a big pop? And Brandy's speaking, so the people start chanting, shut the fuck up. On the other channel, chicken shit gets bleeped. Here, shut the fuck up is entertaining the folks. What does this accomplish? The heel tells the truth about another heel while the people boo the second heel out of the building, not due to performance, but because they personally despise her and she's rotten. And Lambert's out there talking about heel and face turns, exposing the business terminology in these bizarro world segments where they're trying to do what they're talking about being a work for a shoot. He mentioned her last job was being turned face down, and she slapped him. And here comes Paige Van Zant. And boy, she's hotter than a daggum $2 pistol. She tackles Brandy, and within, what would you say, Brian? Was it 1.4 seconds or 1.6 seconds? Every girl on the roster in the locker room runs out to the ring. What?
No, every babyface girl in the locker room. Not every girl in the locker room. We didn't see heels running out there. It was all the babyface girls.
True, we didn't see no Jane Cargill. It was all the babyface girl. But 10 girls run out and pull them apart. And they pulled them apart for real. They couldn't get loose and nothing else happened. So just in case you're keeping track on your scorecard, last week, 5 grown men attempted the murder of CM Punk and Crickets. And this week, 2 chicks get in a cat fight and they send the SWAT team. Is that about what I saw?
That, I guess, is what you saw.
Well, that's what I saw.
I don't know what to think about that segment. As soon as you saw Brandy in the ring, you kind of knew what was going to happen in terms of the reaction. She knew it. I mean, you saw it on her face, and she obviously gets off on this. She wants to do this heel stuff.
It's attention, and that's what she's going for.
I was so surprised that in the middle of this thing, I started feeling bad for Brandy. When she's standing there, almost glassy-eyed, as Lambert's hitting her with one thing after another, and she's just standing there staring at him say that, I started to really feel bad for her. I'm like, man, they've gotten to the point where they're telling people just go out there and say whatever you want about the Rhodes family.
Yeah.
And they just do it. You know, you see a lot of people say it. Name a more attractive woman that you want to see less than Brandy Rhodes. And it just, these things randomly pop up. You got to remember some of the dynamics that are always consistent, including Brandy Rhodes is not afraid of anybody, man or woman, and she's ready to fight even cage fighters. Like, she's just ready to go. Scorpio Sky, you didn't bring up Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. Ethan Page at least looks like a badass. Scorpio Sky is so goofy and so silly that he takes anything Dan Lambert does down several notches.
I don't know what neighborhood you come from when Ethan Page looks like a badass. Ethan Page looks like a male model on the cover of Blue Boy magazine.
He looks like he has some size and some muscle mass to him.
He's got some size and some muscle. Most of it's between his ears, but he doesn't look like a badass.
He's a black belt, I believe. So, I mean, he can handle himself. Scorpio Sky just comes out there and acts like a silly guy. And Lambert, of course, is involved in another thing later in the show that establishes him as a heel. So now we have Brandy comes out there acting like a heel. All the baby faces save her. Lambert comes out there, becomes the de facto baby face because he's attacking Brandy, and then he goes back to being a heel later in the show. And what is this building to? Is this whole thing, do you mean to tell me that after the early Lambert segments, they actually were able to get Paige Van Zant to agree that she'll work a match, and they're going to do the match with her and Brandy? That's going to be how you use Paige Van Zant?
No, I'm hoping not. I mean, things just start and stop all the time with it. They can't.
That's true. That's true.
The idea of Paige Van Zant agreeing to do a pro wrestling match, and it, 2 things. Number 1, not being on pay-per-view, and number 2, being against Brandy Rhodes would be financial malfeasance. Malfeasances. Might as well just ball the money up and throw it out the window.
Where was her husband? Once again, a group of men come to the ring to confront his wife. Cody's nowhere to be seen. Where's Cody?
Here's another thing. Brandy slaps Dan Lambert. Lambert doesn't do shit about it because you're not supposed to touch women on television. Brian, wouldn't it be a natural response? Maybe not on TV, maybe not with witnesses, but wouldn't it be a natural response if a grown adult, whether they were man, woman, animal, vegetable, or mineral, slapped you in the face? Wouldn't it be a normal response to reach out and just grab that person around the goozle pipe?
I'm not exactly sure what the natural reaction would be, but it begs the question, what exactly are they doing with Lambert and Brandy? Are they building up a match? Because they've had this intergender verbal feud where they've kind of, in some ways, it may be a real progressive program. They've gotten past the whole idea that men can't hit women. He's ready to hit her. She's ready to fight him. What is this?
Again, that's what they did with Stephanie. They emasculated every guy on the roster in the WWE with Stephanie slapping him and talking down to him, and they couldn't do anything back. Although in real life it'd be different, but on TV they bury grown adult men, whether baby faces or heels, with these minute women just abusing them and verbally dressing them down and etc. And you don't get no comeback. Which is then don't put him in that position. If the guy can't get retribution on the obnoxious female, don't let the obnoxious female get one over on the guy that can't get retribution.
And when you say they're trying to do Stephanie McMahon, no, she's trying to do Stephanie McMahon.
Well, yeah.
Her and Cody came into this company wanting to be Triple H and Stephanie, and everyone knows that's true.
Well, and now Triple H is home, laid up and forgotten about.
That's right.
Stephanie's off giving speeches somewhere. So they have pretty much emulated Triple H and Stephanie. Should we move on?
Once again, I'll just say I legitimately felt bad. At one point, they showed her face while Lambert was laying into her, and she looked like she could cry. And I actually did feel bad. And I know I'm the only one out there, but I felt bad for Brandy here.
Well, you know, but here's the thing.
Maybe if her husband was there to support her, or even Dustin, but no one.
If she had been wandering through the arena, minding her own business, and suddenly Lambert started saying all that shit, then I might feel slightly sorry for her. But since it was her choice to get in the ring and put herself in that position.
Yeah, what was the whole point of it? I mean, beyond everything that we can't figure out the point of. She's in the ring with a mic just to talk. And then Lambert all of a sudden just has a mic to come out there and confront her. Like, what?
Well, yeah, there was never any point to what she was doing in the ring otherwise than to draw the heel out to do their prearranged material and the skit that they had practiced. That's another thing. The booker of the year is too green and inexperienced to actually give cover reasons to people for the things that they're doing when something else happens, or for the things that they're about to say, or for the things they're in the process, or why they're there. There's no simple but yet effective, legitimate cover reason so that when things go south and unplanned shit takes place, you know that this is a departure from what was supposed to happen. That's why it's supposed to register with you. Oh, the shit, this wasn't supposed to happen. This guy's come out and said some shit, and they've just gone off the format. No, they just present it like, okay, for no reason, this person is in the ring to say the other person's name, say the other person's waiting to come out instantly, and they have a performance they've practiced and they're going to give it. That's the way it comes off, because there's no depth or layer to any of this shit. It's just, okay, now this segment, all this shit's going to happen. We're going to cover this here. It's like Tony has the OCD. We all know that because he's a figures and a statistics nut like I am about some figures and statistics. Just his was football or whatever. But at the same time, he's green. He's a complete rookie. He's total novice and he's inexperienced. So he thinks that each segment should contain everything that you need to know about that match or angle or what's coming up. Everything is contained in that. And then we're going to start the whole show over again after the commercial break. And that's the way it always happens. And there's no cover reason for any of these things to take place that would indicate when something goes differently that they're going off the format or off the script and into business for themselves, because you never knew what they were doing out there to begin with in the first place. There was no motivation for them to be there otherwise than to perform this prearranged bullshit they're about to do.
How much do you want to bet they're going to do Brandy Rhodes versus Paige Van Zandt?
Again, I mean, I can't bet. I wouldn't bet against it. I think it would be insane. If
she's going to do something. Look, she's been wrestling matches on YouTube. We've seen reports. We just don't watch. We know that she's always said she wanted to do more in wrestling. She wasn't retired. She didn't see herself the way everyone else did. She likes being a heel.
And you're talking about Brandy now, not Paige Van Zandt.
I'm talking about Brandy.
Yes.
Like, she's not going away quietly like a Shane McMahon. Or Shane's Last Stand, I guess we can call the Royal Rumble now. Shane's Last Stand, the Royal Rumble 2022.
But it's a shame because they have girls. Thunder Rosa not only has an MMA background, but is a tremendous worker and would be great to do something with Paige, because Paige Van Zandt's going to be greener than a pepper tree. And they're going to have to protect her. She's going to look as bad as Rousey did in the Rumble.
And it should be a babyface, not Brandy, right?
Yes, because Paige Van Zandt, that, condescending bitch that's been following Lambert and his group around. So naturally it should be, or if they just turned Serena Deeb heel, but Serena would have a good match with Paige because she could lead Paige Van Zandt and just call stuff that she was comfortable with and get her through it, and she'd look like $1 million. But Thunder Rosa could do the same thing equally, and she's a babyface. But and then if, I'm just, don't give a Paige Van Zandt, who is going to be green and limited, one of the single worst performers on the female roster short of Riho herself.
We're going to find out her and Brandy, Paige and Brandy, are at the fucking QT gym rehearsing their match for next year.
Oh, boy.
But you know what's going to happen. Don't worry. Brandy will get hurt and Red Velvet will just jump in.
Hey, Red Velvet might be better.
She's got fire.
That might be a better match as long as Paige just watches out for that fucking standing moonsault. Anyway, real quickly, Matt Hardy and the rest of his stooges were in the stairway again. And again, there was a bad back and forth with Andre Olio. And
this was really bad. This is really, really bad. I can't believe they're in the stairwell again. Let's take the third week in a row. Nothing's happening. You don't care about any of these people. They're all talking to each other. You don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. And then it was Andrade thought Matt Hardy was going to get Darby Allin for him. So now they're going to drag Darby and Sting into this. Terrible.
I don't. Well, Andre's been saying that, the little guy that works for Stink, he wants to buy him. I don't know. Maybe it'll just fester into an issue between Andre and his people and Hardy and his people, because that way Darby and poor Sting can stay out of this. But and why are they in a stairway every week? Like you said, what's it next week? A septic tank or a propane tank or a storage room? What about a panic room? You know what? There's a brand new stipulation match for AEW, the panic room match. They put them in the panic room, and the first one that gets out is the winner. What do you think?
I like it.
I know 4 people that I'd like to close up in a room of some description with no windows in it. The people that were in the next match, Malachi Black and Brody King against Penthouse and Pac with poor Alex. I know that they did a deal where Malachi Black months ago, Pac's been gone. He keeps going home and can't come back because of COVID, I guess. But they did a deal where Malachi Black blew the mist in his eyes and his eyesight was affected, right? And that's been the topic of anytime you see Pac, he's on a pre-tape VTR interview talking about the eyesight, whatever. But this match comes about, and Malachi Black and Brody King go to the multiple blackouts. They do their entrance now, and here comes Penthouse and Pac. And Pac is wearing a blindfold. Not even a blindfold, but a blindfold, the kind that you wear when you get a cigarette and last word before you get shot by a firing squad. And he is led to the ring like Stevie Wonder at the Grammys by putting his hand on Alex's shoulder because he's blind, but he's in this tag team match. Have I given a good description of this so far, Brian, that this is what we've seen to start out?
I think so. When Penta came out with that Alex, I said, oh no, the best part of his act is gone. And then I realized Alex is now the seeing eye dog. Seeing eye dog.
Seeing eye dork.
Seeing eye dork of Pac.
He's the seeing eye dork. So, and as he gets in the ring, Jim Ross says, the last blindfold match I saw, I never wanted to see again.
He's not wrong.
Yeah. So, of course, Malachi Black and the blind man are going to start the match. And Malachi Black waves his hand in front of Pac's face. Pac's wearing the blindfold, kind of taunts him a bit. And then he takes a big swing and Pac ducks. And Pac starts doing drop-down leapfrog and duck spots with the blindfold on. Then fucking knocks Black out of the ring, down to the floor, whatever, and dramatically pulls off the blindfold to reveal that he can see. Moments after he revealed that he could already see when he was ducking, dodging, and doing leapfrog with the blind. What the fuck? Everybody in this match is either the shits themselves or the gimmick or booking that they have makes them the shits. And now they started the match out with the blind guy. So fuck it. What else happened? Because I don't give a shit. I think the Brody King is a fat, more tattooed version of Malachi Black, and I didn't like his gimmick to begin with. And Penthouse, we know, sucks. And if I see him take that glove off one more time, I'd like to see one of the baby faces take the glove and shove it up his ass. And then the blind man. What else happened here?
Oh, I wasn't really into this. I agree with you. I'm not a big fan of Brody and Malachi so far, and it kind of takes away a lot of the, I was going to say the magic, but it wouldn't be the right word. A lot of the magic of Malachi. I know there's more magic than ever before, but it takes away a lot of what made Malachi special, having him all of a sudden with another guy. And I get it, that it's a cool entrance. When you stop and you think about it, it's like, wow, that really is cool. But every single week, the lights are controlled, and then again, all I can think, how am I supposed to take them seriously if when the lights go out, I immediately imagine they're in their outfit running as fast as they can to the ring? I can't take it seriously.
Well, okay, some people out there are going to say, well, we're picking at too many nits. It's an entrance, right?
But it's every week.
That's fine. And every week, that's fine. It's still the entrance. But in their matches, it's constantly something goofy that they can't leave well enough alone. Remember, I've said this from the start. Malachi Black starts to get over with you until they do some of the stupid, spooky shit or the mind game shit or just nonsensical, illogical stuff that wouldn't happen, that brings the match momentum to a halt. It makes everybody go, what the fuck? Doesn't come off right, lands like a fart in church, whatever the case. The gimmick and the booking gets in this guy's way of getting over. And now he's got a stooge partner. It's going to have much the same kind of gimmick, and the same thing's going to happen. They're going to do more spooky stuff and more mind games. It's going to be dragging the matches down because they can't edit themselves. And there's nobody in charge. So when you're rudderless in a ship and you're leaderless at the top, you march into battle and fall off the fucking cliff. Speaking of falling off a cliff, our friend the Incredible Shrinking Cole. Brian, you thought it couldn't get any worse. You thought it couldn't get any worse than Adam Cole, former NXT superstar, darling of the Undisputed Era, comes into a company, does a program with, and is defeated by the school mascot. And he's in the back doing a promo, and he's doing a serious promo about he didn't get beat by Pockets because it was a lights-out match and it's not on his record, but everybody's going to see a new side of me Friday night. I'm going to take what I want, and everybody's expected to hear, okay, he's suddenly going to become serious again. Because Friday, I'm going to beat Pizzeria Uno. The fat, pleather-clad potato that does much of the speaking for the Dork Order is Adam Cole's next opponent. After he just got beat by a mascot, he's fighting the fucking S&M chairman of the massage parlor in Bristol, Pennsylvania. Fucking hell, I give up. Adam Cole versus Uno. Your prediction. Is this going to be an hour Broadway?
My prediction is I'm not going to watch. I don't believe in Adam Cole at all anymore. You know, he sits there and he does his promo, and we've seen him do these promos, and then everything goes back to what it was. I don't care about what he has to say until he is programmed with some people away from the Bucks camp in a serious manner, and until he, I don't know, does some push-ups or something. I really don't care about Adam Cole anymore. It's just not worth wasting my time over it.
Now I know why I never had children.
Adam Cole.
Because when one of them goes to reform school or gets hooked up on drugs or whatever, and you have that feeling of not just disappointment, but just heartbreak. What could have been and what it turned out like. Speaking of which, what could have been and what it turned out like, the next match was Nyla Rose versus Ruby Soho.
This surprised me.
To make up for dropping the ball on Nyla Rose's booking 2 years ago, they're now dropping the ball on Ruby Soho's booking to try to rehabilitate Nyla Rose, even though it's too late. That horse has left the barn.
That's the part that surprised me.
Yes. So, Riho beat Nyla Rose, and Nyla Rose beat Ruby Soho. So doesn't that mean that Ruby Soho is unable to beat someone in a medically induced coma? Is there any farther down to go?
Well, I don't know. That was Riho at full strength, before she got hurt.
Yeah, Riho at full strength. I can smell her coming a mile away.
You saw she is hurt. She is going to be gone for a while, right?
I'm not happy that she's injured. I'm happy that she's not going to be seen on my television for a while.
All right.
But again, so why even watch that? Nyla Rose, the horse has left the barn. Send her somewhere, bring her back in a year and a half, and focus from that point, because it's been over 2 years. She's been beaten by tiny little minute Japanese schoolgirls. She's been a babyface. She's been a heel. She's had Vicky Guerrero. Vicky's done nothing but screech. And now Ruby Soho, who came in with all the goodwill in the world and people wanting to like her. You can't mean to tell me that an audible shouldn't have been called to where Ruby Soho won the TBS title tournament by not by fucking, she's a babyface, but by foiling a fuck by Mark Sterling on the part of Jane Cargill, put the belt on Ruby Soho, have Jane Cargill then fucking drop Ruby Soho and have her carted out and start a program to where Ruby Soho now has to defend her newly won championship against this bigger, stronger, treacherous girl with a devious manager in her corner. But instead we had more Riho and a bunch of goddamn Japanese schoolgirls impersonating fucking English rock stars. And then Ruby Soho got lost in the shuffle because she didn't win anything when the people were ready to like her. So then, Billy and the Ass Boys were in the back of the arena, and they've got a camera. Because, of course, they've got a camera and a cameraman, and they say, hey, shoot this. Everybody's going to want to see this.
Now, hold on, can I stop you?
Go ahead. Please, because 10 feet away.
No, that's not true. If he was 5 feet away, I would be surprised.
Okay.
That's what I was going to say. We've seen this before where someone commandeers a camera and says, okay, follow me. I'm going to do something nefarious.
And then you got to follow them because they go somewhere.
Right. Have you ever seen
find the target?
Have you ever seen it before where the guy commandeers the camera and the guy's literally right next to the cameraman?
And now I know Jungle Boy plays a lot of games on his phone, and he pays a lot of attention to his phone, and he looks down all the time because he has no goddamn backbone or no spirit, no spunk. And he's just a mealy, mumbly mouth kid that doesn't want to fucking bother anybody or alert anybody to his presence. But he's leaning there on the wall. And like you said, they're 5 feet away from him when Billy Gunn says, hey, shoot this, you're going to be interested or whatever. And then the ass boys come at bully Jungle Boy, attack him, throw him out the back door into a snowdrift. And then before they can do anything further, here comes the Dinosaur and Christian Cage, so the ass boys run off. This possibly could have been one of the fakest looking things I've ever seen. And think how much on this program alone, how much territory that takes in. The fact that they were standing next to the guy when they attacked him, the fact that it was obviously set up from the start, the fact that he took a nice rolling bump through the snowdrift without necessarily getting it all over him. And it was gone in 45 seconds. Just why, if you had put a graphic up that said this shit is fake in capital letters, it wouldn't slap you in the face any harder. So why do you have talent out there that you supposedly have confidence in, that you supposedly want to use, that one of them is your tag team champion, and you willingly, knowingly allow them to do fake shit, and then you allow it to be aired on your television program when it looks like that instead of reshooting it, or just don't do it. If it can't be done better than that. There's some things in my time as a booker that I have scratched because the talent couldn't get it the way it needed to be got, and I didn't want to make the talent look bad by showing them doing shit that they couldn't get. So then Tony Schiavone was in the ring with the world heavyweight champion Adam Page, who somehow makes a buckskin jacket look unthreatening. He starts talking about, and here's another thing. Tony Schiavone, one of the hosts of the program, in the ring, announces Hangman Adam Page, the world champion. Here comes Page, right? He asks Page a question, and then Page just takes the microphone from Tony, and Tony just walks away and goes and stands in the corner like a goddamn dipshit. When does that happen in any other sport on television?
It doesn't.
And then Page starts doing the promo. He makes sure to say shit and ass. And he tries as hard as he can to have personality and fire. But he was talking about Lance Archer, and that Archer wants Here's another thing he said. And Lance Archer, and Archer wants a Texas death match for his title match next week. Well, yeah. I want $1 million and a blowjob from the hottest woman in fucking Paris. Probably ain't going to get either one of them. What difference does it make what the challenger wants? You're the fucking champion. And how did the challenger get a Texas death match in his first ever challenge of the new world champion? In their first ever meeting. Why is it a Texas death match? It's nonsensical. There's no reason for it. But Page is out there screaming and screeching, trying to have fire, and what it sounded like was a guy who doesn't have enough confidence yet and is not seen by the fans at the level that he's being presented at yet, and he's trying to yell to make up for it by screaming about what he's going to do to Lance Archer, who, because of his booking, nobody gives two French fried titty fucks about in his own right. Because he's been a babyface and a heel and had Jake as his manager, and now he's aligned with Lambert. But Jake's back. And Lance Archer is the one who leveled Dan Lambert with his finish 3 or 4 months ago when they first started this thing. Because everybody liked him then. But now that he didn't do anything, Archer, he's a heel again because he comes out the other side of the fucking entranceway with 2 managers. And so anyway, as Page is trying to convince the people and himself that he's the world champion, here comes Lambert back out. And as Lambert starts talking, Page starts talking over him, and Jake tells Page to shut the hell up, and Page does. I think Jake scared him. And so the babyface does shut up so that Jake, who was once one of the best promos in the industry, can ramble and say nothing. Because I don't know what's going on with, maybe that it was the drugs made him the best promo. Because sober Jake, old Jake, manager Jake could say suey if the hogs had him next to fucked up, drug addicted wrestler Jake, who was a master spokesperson. So Jake rambled, and then Archer just says, fuck it, while Jake is still talking. He runs between Jake and Lambert to go to the ring and attack Page, but Page dives on Archer and knocks him goofy, and then goes after Dan Lambert, throws Lambert into the ring, but Archer stops Page, and Archer turns the metal stairs sideways on their edge, and so it's a bigger space to land on, and then gave Adam Page a choke slam that looked like it fucked him up on the stairs. Wow. Oh, wait. That's not the angle. That's just to keep him over there for a second. Then he picked him up and gave Page his finish through a fucking table. Another table. Every week, a table, multiple tables per week. But they just did the angle. Archer fucking choke slams Page on the stairs. Then, for no reason, he picks the guy up and gives him another dangerous bump to make the first one meaningless. Either one would have worked. Choke slam him on the metal stairs, give him your finish through the table. Both of them together just means that there's a bunch of stupid people doing stupid shit that they don't need to be doing, that's damaging their bodies, that is not going to register, and a bunch of other stupid people that are either letting them do it because they don't know any better, or they just don't give a shit to make the argument and hear all the reasons why that they don't know what they're talking about when they probably do. This was fucking rotten. And then, to top it all off, the only other offense that I didn't see anywhere else on the whole program that I would have chewed people out in wrestling school for, after he does 2 angles with the world champion, old Lance Archer, he choke slams him on the stairs, then he fucking gives him his finish through the table, then he takes the microphone, stands over Page, and cuts a promo talking directly into the camera, not at the guy that he's just beat up that's laying on the floor at his feet. Which, of course, immediately makes the promo phony. Everybody I've ever dealt with in wrestling school heard that from the very beginning, but apparently there are no more wrestling schools. Are there no wrestling schools? No workhouses? So he cuts a promo looking into the camera instead of the guy he's mad at his feet. So that automatically explains to you that this is fake and nobody means anything. Your thoughts on this multiple angle situation?
I didn't have too many thoughts because it was a complete waste of time, but that kind of is the big point. Is they had a big match that I was really looking forward to, and they poured so much garbage into that show before we got to that match that I was kind of not in the mood for the match when it started.
I got to be honest with you. I stopped here and came back much later to have a fresher state of mind to go into what I actually wanted to see because of the dreck that had been foisted off on us. So, although I did see right before I took a break, Jericho alone in the back. Now he's got a new gimmick. Remember, he was the Painmaker. He was Y2J. He's got a new gimmick every season. He comes out with a brand new menu. Now he's going to be the influencer. Because, that's what they call all the young folks on the Twitter machine and out on the social media, Brian. They call them influencers. Because they don't have any other title for them, because they don't know what else they're fucking doing. Because they have no marked talent or noticeable appeal. They just do shit and influence other weak-minded people to do the same thing. So now Jericho wants to be the influencer. I guess because GFY didn't work out too well for him when Moxley pulled that rug out from under his feet. Do you think Moxley knew about the trademark? He's just come out of rehab. And it was an off-the-cuff remark. Do you think he knew about the trademark and he knew he was cutting Jericho's nuts off, or was it just a serendipitous accident?
I don't believe he purposely cut Jericho's nuts off, although I could be wrong, but I do believe he knew about the trademark.
Woo! All righty then. Oh, and by the way, we're going to see a dinner circle meeting next week because they got a lot of splaining to do for how Santana and Ortiz especially were just very, very rude to Jericho last week.
This whole thing is so stupid. Every time there's an inner circle problem, all right, we're going to settle it next week with a really stupid segment in front of the fans where we pretend like we're having a meeting backstage.
Yeah.
I think everyone's tired of the Jericho nonsense now. And, if they're going to do the inner circle meeting, it's going to be really, really noticeable just how bad this is. Because then you're going to get Sammy in there too. And Sammy's been doing his own thing and kind of succeeding at that. Sammy and Santana and Ortiz need to get the fuck away from Jericho as quick as they can.
I don't know, but every time you've ever had a fight or a disagreement with your wife, or especially if a divorce is imminent, what you want to do is you want to have the talk about that on national television where everybody can hear it and form their own conclusions. But then, Brian, the moment we were all waiting for finally came after we sat through the rest of this suffering to get to the meat of the matter. MJF comes out, makes his entrance. They go to the break. On the other side of the break, you hear it like Mussolini and Al's number one Chicago Italian beef. See, I had to throw that in. It was hometown favorite.
Nice little loose mention there, yeah.
Remember, Al's number one Chicago Italian beef is the favorite of Moose Cholak. MJF versus Punk, and I looked and I said, they've got 45 minutes on the air, but they're calling it the main event. This could be good. And with all that time, they took their time and they built the anticipation. And MJF opened up with a cheap shot because he's the heel, and Punk turned it around and started taking it to him. MJF got tied up in the ropes, did the Terry Funk up and down. And if you notice, they had to be watching tapes for this match because they brought out all kinds of tricks and little ebbs and flows and little ways to pay homage to the stars of yesteryear. They had a fucking match. Not only they had a grudge match. MJF tried to powder. Punk chased him out of the ring, up the bleachers, and beat him up. The referee went with them. The announcers are covering it. The referee not wanting to count him out this early. This is when you play with the rules. A match that people want to see between two main event guys that's been built. And now in the babyface's hometown, you're giving them the payoff to what they've been wanting to see. This is when you let some things go. You have guys running around fighting in the arena, or you have the referee being lax on the count out or whatever, because that makes it stand out even more. If it's every match, it means nothing. So anyway, Punk even did the series of body slams. They were chanting one more time for a body slam. they were having a pro wrestling match. And it was so refreshing because we don't see them very often. And then just a simple thing to go to the break. Punk charges, MJF moves, Punk hits the post, goes to the floor, and MJF starts heat on the arm, the left arm that he fucking ran into the post with. And they went to the break. Nice and easy to understand. They come back. Imagine that. MJF's getting heat on the arm. But Punk fights back. Gets a little bit of a comeback. Went for the elbow off the top. MJF crotched him on the top rope before he could come off. Starts heat on the arm again. Every time that Punk would come back or get an opening, the people would get with it, but MJF would shut him down because it wasn't time for the big blow up yet, the big comeback. And again, they got creative with different ways to do it. Then, the one spot that I didn't like, and it wasn't either one of their fault, actually maybe partially a little bit Punk, but Bryce Remsburg, the referee, this is where you need a Tommy Young, because all of his mannerisms were so natural to what he would do. A lot of the other referees, they're not asked to get into the middle of a bunch of spots, therefore they don't have a lot of practice, whatever, but you saw where MJF goes in the corner, pulls the referee in front of him, hiding behind the referee. Punk pulls the referee out, puts his arm around him to walk him out in the middle, like, let me take care of this, and turns around, and MJF actually didn't turn around. As he's walking the referee out, MJF took tape from around his wrist and slipped it over Punk's neck. That's fine. But the referee kept walking after Punk got grabbed all the way to the opposite corner without turning around, messing with his shirt collar. It was so unnatural. It killed the spot. All Punk had to do was grab the referee and pull him out with the referee facing away from MJF and step by the referee, go like, get out of here. And MJF could have got the thing around, but the referee could have turned around within 2 seconds and wouldn't have seen it. That was awkward. Should have been quicker. However, once that he wraps the tape around Punk's neck, MJF covers it with a sleeper. And he's got the sleeper on with the tape around his neck that he's already choked him. The referee can't see him. He puts him to sleep. The referee checks the hand and rings the bell. And the people are bullshit. And they start playing the music, because if that's the finish, that's what they do. And then I swear to God, the referee walks over. As soon as I saw how MJF was standing, MJF had shoved the tape that he'd used to cheat with underneath his armpit, and so nobody would see it, and had his other arm up, and the referee comes over and raises the arm he had down. The tape falls out, and the referee sees it. Again, that was Jerry Lawler and Jack Briscoe in the Mid-South Coliseum in 1974. Only it was a chain, not tape. Again, the poor referee, he had wooden face. He pulled MJF's arm up and didn't look down at the tape falling out because he knew it was falling, so he knew he saw it. Instead, he just looked straight at MJF like, oh. So it wasn't a real reaction, but it was a good spot. And he restarts it. And the place blows, and Punk starts making a comeback, and MJF is bumping. And Punk takes him in 20 punches in the corner, not 10, 20. Straight to the head. Looking good, with MJF not covering up. He's open for him. And not fucking Punk windmilling the area of his head, but throwing him to his fucking face. And the people counting. We went back in time to when this shit was actually watchable. So, again, Punk goes for the Scorpion. MJF kicks him off, and he takes a bump to the floor and re-injures his arm, and they go to the break. And they come back, and MJF's getting heat on him again. But Punk foiled the heat seeker pile driver gimmick, hits a springboard clothesline, but he's still selling his left arm. And then Punk hits the dive to the floor on MJF, but comes down on his knee and hurts his knee. And they're both selling. Punk tosses MJF in, but he's limping. So MJF takes back over. Punk comes out and gets an STF, but he can't hold it with his bad arm. And then they got the double bridge this deep in the match. And Punk went for the go to sleep, but when he picked him up, the bad leg gave out. So MJF got an ankle lock. And the people are chanting, "This is awesome." Because as we've mentioned, when you give them a wrestling match, they like it. They just don't see a lot of them. And then Punk rolls through and throws MJF to the buckle. They stood and traded. Punk hit that reverse Hurricane Rana. I hate those things. I don't know how people don't break their necks. But they were selling. Both were exhausted. Punk can't stand up. MJF is selling his neck now. They almost wiped the referee out, but he ducked out of the way on a roll-up. He ducked out of the way, and MJF mule kicks Punk in the nuts and gets a 2 count. And they go to the break again. Holy shit. And they're coming back. Punk is selling but fighting from underneath. MJF foils a bulldog attempt by biting Punk's finger. And then Punk turns around and bites MJF's head and hit the pedigree, which he calls the Pepsi plunge, off the turnbuckles. But he can't cover because he's selling his bad knee. And then they both reverse tombstones, one backwards and the other backwards. And then Punk drops MJF with a kick, hits the elbow off the top. 2 count, huge pop. This thing is cooking. And then, finally, Punk calls for the go to sleep, but he's still limping. MJF rolls to the floor. Here comes Wardlow. Steps over MJF and gets face to face with Punk, and then steps back like, do whatever the fuck you want. Punk tosses MJF back in, gets in, turns to look at Wardlow, turns back. MJF nails Punk with the Dynamite diamond ring, boom, and falls on him 1, 2, 3. Punk's first defeat, and because MJF had won the match that was restarted, nobody expected him to win win again. So everybody was calling mentally in their minds that Punk was going to win the thing, and they swerved him there. The only bad thing, they showed a replay, which I get was set up, obviously. This is what they wanted to do, which showed Wardlow passing the ring while he was face to face with Punk. He passed the ring to MJF on the floor behind his back. The original camera shot didn't see it. Probably by design, it looked like, and this so that they could catch it in the replay. But while that was good, the people in the arena didn't catch it. And when MJF rolled in, he already had the ring on. When he throws the punch, he falls on his stomach, and he put the ring back in his tights under his belly. So the people in the arena, I don't think they ever saw the ring. I think it would have been better if when he was thrown in, he already had the ring. When Punk gets in and looks back at Wardlow, either MJF could have come up with the motion like he's setting the ring good, or after he threw the punch, he could have taken the ring off where they could have seen it and put it in his trunks before he went face down to hide it from the referee. Then the people in the arena would have got it instantly. Otherwise than that, they went 45 minutes with this thing, and I could have watched plenty more because it was fresh. It made sense. They kept things moving. Nothing was out of place. They gave us a little bit of everything. And, what a fucking little roller coaster ride there. So, again, they gave a handful of people that can do marvelous work with any amount of time that they're given. And then the rest of the show, you got to sit through to watch what you want to see. What'd you think?
I thought it was really good. Took a while to get there, though. I hated the stuff on the floor at the beginning. I'm not a big fan of that in general, but especially when you start the match with it, not a big fan of that.
And I can see that. And that's why I said, if they didn't do it all the time, this is where you're supposed to do it. But the reason why that it looks so normal is because everybody does it.
But good match. And like you said, I was surprised that MJF got the victory because you were certainly taught through watching wrestling for years that he was about to get screwed over. Or he's about to lose to CM Punk. And I shouldn't say screwed over after that, but it didn't happen.
You would have thought conventional wisdom was his out was winning the illegal one that was restarted. That was his excuse, his out, his bitch, his gripe. Which is why this was better the way they did it like that.
Yeah, I thought it was good. The only, again, the biggest problem for me may have been, I didn't like the beginning of the match. And everything before the match on the show was really bad, or almost everything, to the point where it made me not really in the mood for the match. And that's a shame, because this is one of the biggest matches they've had on free TV in a while.
That's why, to be honest with you, I don't know why Punk, Danielson, and a couple of other guys don't get together and go to Tony and just say, Tony, Jesus H. Christ, we are literally hurting ourselves on purpose to get your company over. And we can't do it on a show where you've got all this fucking foolishness with all the various executive vice presidents living out their own mental masturbatory fantasies and or have, a bunch of indie talent doing not very good shit on the program to either make people tune out before they see us or, like you were, just not in the mood to see it because you've had to sit through so much other horse shit. Somebody at some point is going to have to explain to him, look, these people have been wanting to love your show since day one. They hate the evil empire. They hate Vince McMahon. They hate the WWE. And the WWE is the most boring wrestling show we've ever seen on television. Now is the time. But you can't do it with these goofy fucking little pet projects of yours. And you need to get somebody to write a television program that knows how to write a television program. These are your faults, Tony. Thank you for starting this company and giving us all a place to work and giving the fans hope that there'll be some other kind of wrestling besides the WWE. But you're shooting yourself in the foot by not having people that know what the fuck they're doing in positions to be able to do it. And that's why, again, we've said it for every week. The WWE gives them every advantage, hands them loaded weapons, hands them all the stars they want, and they say, God damn it, we don't care how bad you want us to kick your ass, we're still going to do television shows that are rotten to the average wrestling fan. If you are not convinced and committed to watching and liking AEW television to the extent of all, you've just decided to forego all reason and all logic and your eyesight and everything, and this fake stupid stuff isn't happening. That's the only way that you can possibly excuse this. So we're 2 years in now, and even if somebody can make the case that, oh, there wasn't enough available talent, even the guy's a fucking billionaire, he could have found the available talent 2 years ago, that it's different now. And still the one joke guy with his hands in his pockets, and still, I won't say thankfully the one is injured, but still we have an ongoing invasion of Japanese schoolgirls because of one of the EVPs. The other one can't keep his wife out of the goddamn ring, even though people would rather give a kidney up than see Brandy again. It's chaos because nobody's in charge, and there's no one view here. There's no one vision. There's no one person dictating the logic of this universe. It's like if the biggest movie studio in history decided we're going to sign 40 movie stars and we're going to let them decide what kind of movie they want to make, and we're going to give them 10 or 15 directors just to see if we can keep them from walking off the set accidentally, what would it turn out like? Be a fucking mess. That's what this show is. It's a mess. There's elements of greatness with the people that are capable of doing it, and then it's insulting, embarrassing, or just plain rotten for the people who aren't. And we all know who all those people are. It's disheartening, Brian, to see somebody this close to, if not putting the WWE out of business, obviously, certainly that's not going to happen, at least just having a better, consistent product. But whereas the WWE is just kind of flatlined, and it is what it is for the most part, AEW can soar with the Eagles, and the next segment they can scratch with the chickens. And it's even more frustrating when parts of the show are good and the rest sucks than when it all sucks. There's hope. They can't see how to do it. I don't know. Anything else you want to say about this program?
Not really. I guess I'm glad also they didn't go with an easy or lazy way of paying off the MJF Wardlow thing. They're still prolonging that, and everyone probably expected him to turn on MJF there. It's also not the end of Punk and MJF, I wouldn't think, so we'll still get to see more chapters in this story, and that's at least good, because the one segment on this show, it's either 1 and 2 with Danielson and Punk and MJF, or just Punk and MJF. It's the one segment that's always good. I hope it continues for a while.
Anyway, there was the programs. Have we got any of the special events or the premium events or the premium live events? I couldn't remember whether it was regular Ethel, the Ethel live events. Do they even use that phrase anymore at the gas station? The Ethel?
No.
Well, see, when I started driving by Cracky, you had to go get loaded up on Ethel.